This is the countdown, not count up, countdown to March Madness episode 6 deal. And this is, different from last year. Last year we were like, well, tournament's canceled. Everybody go home, get ready for November. And now we have a bracket.
Make a fake one. Yeah, let's make a fake bracket.
We did do that. And Illinois is the unofficial champs of last year. Can they
That's right.
Find out. But anyway, we actually have a bracket, so that's good. And I'm assuming we're going to have a tournament, right? I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't. But
I don't know how we can't now.
I would say it would be the most disappointing thing probably of all time in the history of the world.
Yeah.
My hair looks just brutal in the video here, but whatever. What can you do? So I guess we should break down the bracket. I mean, I think that's what we should do. Real quick, before we get into that, our conference tournament picks, I was 9 of 31. You were 13 for 31. Not bad,
Dominating. I dominate like usual. So brackets will probably be the same.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure in 2019 I had a better bracket than you did. But anyway, yeah, I mean, the seed list. Let me get your opinion on this one. The seed list that I have right in front of me here, the 68 team list, officially from the NCAA, by the way. How is it that Wichita State, okay, let's just put it this way. The other 3 play-in teams, wait, that's not what my question was. What am I saying? My question is this. Oregon State and Georgetown are ahead of Drake on the seed list.
Okay.
That's confusing. I don't get that.
Very confusing.
The other 3 play-in, first four teams are above them, and then it's Oregon State, Georgetown, and then it's Drake. Now, here's what I think happened. I think they forgot to put Drake in there ahead of Oregon State and Georgetown, and now they don't know how to explain it. Because when they asked one of the committee guys that on CBS last night, he danced around the question and gave no answer. So
really?
I think they might have forgotten.
They messed up a little bit. It happens. Mistakes happen,
It's like the net. They were like, oh, wait, should we make Oklahoma State a 4 seed? Oh, man.
Oops.
We meant to make Colgate a 4 seed. That's what they meant.
Yeah, they didn't like you. Yeah, they should have flip-flopped something. Colgate kind of getting screwed, being number 9 in the net and a 14 seed. What's going on here?
Question is, would Colgate have been an at-large bid if they lost yesterday? I don't know how they couldn't have been, right?
I mean, where would you have put them? Would they have been a higher seed if they were an at-large bid? Because you look at it and like the
number 9 in the net.
Yeah, crazy. Anyways,
I'm glad they didn't fix that, but so we do have real quick. We talked about the coaching carousel last week. We already have some firings. Richard Pitino and Archie Miller are both out, so 2 Big Ten coaches are out in the Big Ten. Don't know what's going to happen. Those are one of those jobs is pretty high profile. The Indiana job is a pretty big deal, but we'll find out. Also, I just saw news on Twitter that Jalen Wilson did not travel to Indianapolis with Kansas, and they don't expect him to play in the first round. 12 points, 8 rebounds a game. So
wow. Is that the only guy that's not going? I mean, is he the one that had COVID? Or what?
I mean, I don't know if I'm assuming it is COVID related, but
right.
It's weird that he's not. I mean, he could play it in the second round, I guess, is basically what they're saying. I don't know.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know how I don't think he would be able to play in the second round if he's not there yet. So his feed just dropped out because he's in Vegas and his internet sucks. So we'll get him back in a minute. But now it's just me full screened, and I'm looking down because my camera's up there and my screen's down here. So it's kind of a difficult situation. Let me move my screen upward a little bit so I'm looking less down when I'm talking. But this is just good stalling by me. And that's kind of what I'm supposed to do in this spot. We'll get into the bracket here in a minute, go over the regions, all that stuff. The bubble, what ended up happening with the bubble and the first 4 in, first 4 out, all of that stuff we will do momentarily whenever we can get him back in here if he does join back. But Anyway, let's look at the 1 seeds, which aren't a surprise. I think the only thing that we wouldn't have seen coming maybe a couple weeks ago was the fact that Illinois jumped into the 3rd overall 1 seed spot, 13 of 14 games for them. And, they jumped Michigan for number 3 overall on the seed line. You look at the 2 seeds, you have Alabama, Ohio State, Iowa, and Houston. So 4 Big Ten teams in the top 7 of this bracket. If you want to take that a step further, there's 6 of them or 5 of them in the top 15 because you had Purdue to the mix at 14. But, I would rank the regions the way they're supposed to be in terms of easiest and hardest. I think the hardest is the East region where Michigan is. I think that's the hardest region. I think the easiest region is the West, which is where Gonzaga is, which is how it's supposed to be. And I think the other regions that I find a little bit difficult, the Midwest, I think, is the second hardest with Illinois in it. And then I think the South is the 3rd place region. So they did it right in terms of how hard each region is. I have no problem with that at all. But one thing that I like about the setup this year is that the first 4 games are actually pretty good. Like you have Wichita State and Drake. That's a pretty good game. I'm assuming we're going to see Shanquan Hemphill back for the Bulldogs in that game. They need him. Roman Pinn's obviously done, which sucks for them, but that'll be a good game. Bones Highland for VCU and that team. We'll find out what happens there. But then Michigan State UCLA is an amazing game to have in the first 4. I'm glad the committee did that, but I'm a little bit surprised that Syracuse is an 11 seed that didn't have a first 4 game. That does surprise me slightly, but what can you do? Syracuse did make a nice run, and they would have won over Virginia if they would have played some better defense in the last possession and tried to get to overtime, but they lost. But the committee's rewarding them for that. I think the biggest surprise for me is that the ACC had 7 teams. That does surprise me a little bit. When you look at, what they could have had, 5 or 6, they end up with 7, and you look at where they're seated, it's pretty good. I mean, they're, the team that won the ACC championship in the tournament, Georgia Tech, is 9th overall. They're the 9th seed in the Midwest region. So that's a little bit surprising that they're number 9. Then you have Syracuse, an 11 seed. You have North Carolina as an 8 seed. You have Virginia as a 4. You have a team like Florida State as a 4. You have someone else that I'm forgetting that's on there for them. So the ACC getting 7 does surprise me a little bit, but I think I agree with Louisville not getting in. I definitely agree with that. Louisville's resume is abysmal. I mean, they have a quad 3 loss, and their quad 1 record is horrific. So I don't know how you could have put them in. They didn't put them in. So, I agree with the fact they didn't put Virginia in. Definitely a good move. I would endorse that. Out of the teams that I feel should have gotten in, Virginia was not on that list. The unfortunate thing is that we only have 2 bids in the Mountain West. No Colorado State in the dance, no Boise State, but I'm glad Utah State got in. I feel like they were worthy of getting in. And they ended up on the 11 line, and they'll play Texas Tech. That'll be a good matchup, a fun matchup. We'll find out what happens there. But a lot of good matchups. We'll talk about that when we get them back in here. But, I don't know who I trust in this bracket. I just don't know. So, a little silent period for a minute. You like that? Anyway, as we look at it, the Big Ten getting 9 is not surprising. Could Maryland have possibly been, an 11 seed that ends up playing in a first 4 game? I guess, yeah, but they ended up as the 10. I really don't think that Maryland has a chance against UConn, but we'll find out. And I think you're back.
We're back.
I really had to really dig deep to stall for that long.
I'm sorry, man. Technical difficulties out here in Vegas, you know.
I was talking about like the ACC for like 5 minutes, and I had a lot of long pauses. But anyway, how would you rank the regions in terms of degree of difficulty?
Degree of difficulty. I'm going to say I think the East and the Midwest are pretty close. Maybe a nod towards the East, then Midwest, then South, then West, which is exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
I mean,
the thing about the East,
I know people were upset because Illinois, may have the hardest one, but you look at it. I mean, Michigan's got to go through LSU or St. Bonaventure. Florida State's over there. Colorado's over there. UConn's a pretty good 7 seed. Texas, Bama. I think that's definitely the hardest.
Yeah, the thing about the difference, I think, between the two regions for the East and the Midwest is that LSU and St. Bonaventure aren't as good as Loyola Chicago, Georgia Tech, but they're very close. And then Clemson is nowhere near UConn, in my opinion. And I think Rutgers is better than Maryland, but it's not that big of a gap. Texas, I think, is coming into the tournament in a better spot than West Virginia. I know a lot of people love Oklahoma State. I do too, but I think Florida State's right there with them. And I think Colorado is better than Tennessee. As much as I've said things about Colorado, I think they're better than Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then 6 is I like BYU just as much as San Diego State. So
sure.
And then 11 seed.
And I think both the 6s could be beat.
11 seed wise, I like Syracuse much more than Michigan State or UCLA right now.
Yeah.
Even though I may or may not have Michigan State doing a little something here, but that's because of January, February Izzo.
That's right.
But
count them out.
Definitely, I would say that is a fair thing to say. So we look at the last 4 in as Wichita State, Drake, Michigan State, UCLA, and then the first 4 out. I mean, it's not that surprising what happened, but these are obviously the first 4 out are obviously COVID replacement teams, so they could step in if something happens. It's Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss. So I'm glad they didn't put Duke in first 4 out.
So if Georgetown doesn't steal a bid and Oregon State doesn't steal a bid, does that mean Colorado State and what was the other team you said? Louisville would have been in it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Which that would have probably put Michigan State out of the first 4 and UCLA out of the first 4, and it would be Louisville, Colorado State. So that would be a horrific matchup. Nobody would want to watch that. So Oregon State and Georgetown stealing a bit may have helped the ratings because no one's watching Louisville, Colorado State.
No one's watching them.
Michigan State, UCLA. So you look at the what was I going to look at? The bids by conference. Big 10 9, Big 12 7, ACC 7, SEC 6, Pac 12 5, Big East 4, American, Atlantic 10, Mountain West, Missouri Valley, West Coast all got 2. So if Georgetown doesn't win, does the Big East get 3 or do you think they get more? Because I think if Georgetown doesn't win, I think Seton Hall might have a chance to make
might
it.
Got in instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it still would have been the same.
Or St. John's. Whoever wins that St. John's Seton Hall game, if they beat Georgetown, they're in a really good spot.
Right.
Because I think anybody could have beaten Creighton the way Creighton played in the Big East Championship.
Yeah, Creighton was not good.
And then they draw the hardest 13 seed or the hardest 12 seed, and nobody's going to pick them.
Yeah. I think that's the 5-12 everybody's picking.
There's 2 of them. The West and the South 5-12s are all upset picks, I think.
Yep.
I don't really have the stones to pick Oregon State or Georgetown to win.
I don't think there's any way Oregon State beats Tennessee. And Georgetown's rolling, so maybe they have a shot, but I don't see it happening. I think Wright's too good of a ball player for Colorado. I think they'll be all right. So
let's look at players to watch per region, and I'm going to give you one player per team that I can think of off the top of my head, except for the 16 seeds, because come on. Gonzaga, my one guy. Even though I'm trying to present myself as a big fan of Corey Kispert, I won't pick him here. I think Jalen Suggs is the X-factor guy for them. You look at what he did against BYU in the West Coast Championship. He carried them down the stretch, hit big-time shots. Oklahoma, it's got to be Austin Reeves. He is the he go, they go. That's how it works there. Same thing for Missouri, which I would say for Missouri it's probably Pickett or Pinson. Probably Pinson. Yeah. So that's why I would take there.
Drew Smith is a big part of Missouri too. I mean,
yeah, he is. And Jeremiah Tillman and Mark Smith suck. For Creighton, I would say Marcus Zagorowski, and he's going to be matched up against Ja'Cory McLaughlin. So UCSB.
I did not get to see McLaughlin, whatever his name is, play. I hear he's pretty good.
They have high major transfers on UCSB. They're legit. I think they'll beat Creighton. It's a popular pick, though, so we'll see. Virginia, I'd say Sam Hauser, the Hauser brother that lived up to the hype for Virginia. I mean, Joey didn't really have a great season for Michigan State expectation-wise. Ohio, it's got to be Jason Preston. I mean, I don't know how it can be. He is an unreal player, as good as it gets. USC, everyone's going to say Evan Mobley. I'm going to say Taj Edey. They need him to shoot. Evan Mobley had a great game against who the hell were they playing in the semifinal? Were they playing Colorado? Yeah, they were. He had a great game against Colorado. He was rebounding everything, making shots. Yep. And Taj Edey
had 23 of 36 points at one time.
Taj Edey did not have a good game when they lost, so they need him to get it going. Wichita State and Drake, I'd say for Wichita State, it's got to be Tyson Etienne, who's carried them in the American Athletic. Tremendous guard. For Drake, I'm assuming Shanquan Hemphill is going to be back. But I would say that my guy would be Joe Yesufu, not Nosufu, Yesufu. Very good player, played very well for them down the stretch. Almost got them to a spot where they could win the Missouri Valley without Penn or Hemphill.
Yeah.
So he's been a big-time player for them. Oregon, or I guess I skipped one, Kansas. For Kansas, I mean, if he's going to play, you got to go with David McCormick. I mean, I know he was the guy that was out for them in the Big 12 tournament when they played because of COVID. But if he's playing, he's got to be the guy. He was very good down the stretch for them. And, I know Marcus Garrett's good, but it's got to be him. Eastern Washington, who they play on the 14 line. Eastern Washington's got some really good players. Tanner Groves and Jacob Groves would be the guys that I would look at because they're brothers and they're on the same team. And they're the two best players on that team. So I'll go with them. Oregon, this team's loaded. I'll take Eugene from Eugene Omarui, stud. And I'll tell you right now, Iowa's nightmare matchup in the second round is Oregon.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But VCU, it's got to be Bones Island. Hell of a score, 19 points a game. For Iowa, I'm not even going to – there's no point in me saying Garza because everybody's going to say – so I'm going to say Joe Wieskamp, who is as good – he's the best shooter on the team, in my opinion. I know a lot of people would have thought that it would be Bohannon, but Wieskamp –
if Wieskamp has to play well for Iowa to play well. I mean, Garza's going to put up 20. Wieskamp can't have an off night, though.
Give me the for Grand Canyon, give me the big man – Asbjorn Midgard, 7-footer from Denmark, stud. Him and Garza, that's going to be a matchup to watch there. And Grand Canyon's extremely good defensively. I don't think they'll win that game, but that'll be interesting. For Baylor, how could it not be Davion Mitchell? I mean, how could it not be? Just an excellent defense, as good as it gets. North Carolina's got a ton of size, so that's the big worry if I'm Wisconsin is the fact that North Carolina is huge in the interior and Wisconsin is horrible defensively in the interior. So if I'm going to look at one of those guys, it's going to be a big guy. It's going to be, I guess, Leaky Black or Garrison Brooks. One of those two. Garrison Brooks 6'10", Leaky Black 6'10". You got or 6'8". You got Armando Baycott 6'10". That's three guys that start 6'10", 6'10", 6'8". So Wisconsin's going to be in for something there.
It's going to be tough for them.
For Wisconsin. It's got to be Demetric Trice. He'll be facing up against Caleb Love probably in that game. That'll be a really fun matchup. He's really been the only guy that's been terrific for them. For Villanova, it's got to be Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who's one of the better players in the Big East. For Winthrop, it's got to be Chandler Vaudrin, playmaker, makes things happen for Winthrop's offense. I would take him. For Purdue, I would say Jaden Ivey, the freshman, is who I would take because he shot it really well down the stretch for them, almost held them or almost got them to the point where they could beat Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. Then for North Texas, it's got to be Javion Hamlet, who's by far their best player. And by the way, he called his shot. He said that they would be in the tournament next year. He said that last year. And they ended up beating Western Kentucky in the Conference USA Championship. Texas Tech, I'm trying not to go with the best player, but it's got to be Mac McClung. I mean, the fact that the most amazing thing about Mac McClung is not even what he's done at Texas Tech. It's that he left Georgetown and their roster was significantly worse, and they found a way to get into the tournament.
Yeah, it's an impressive storyline, honestly.
I mean, their roster is horrendous compared to last year. They were so much better last year. But Patrick Ewing, I mean, he can coach. What can you say? For Utah State, it's obviously a guy that I've talked about on Twitter who's one of the best defensive big men in the country, and that is Neemias Queta, 7 foot, 245 junior. He'll block everything. Don't even go near him. Arkansas, it's got to be Moses Moody, one of the better freshmen in the country. I don't know. You couldn't dig him. I know he's your boy. You've talked about him occasionally. But for Colgate, they got shooters everywhere on this team. But the guy that I like is probably I'm going to go with Jack Ferguson, who doesn't start but really fills it up. He can shoot very well. For Florida, I mean, this Florida team is like so boring to me. Like, I thought they were good. Like, they lost 2 in a row going into the SEC tournament. Then they barely beat Vandy. Then they lost to Tennessee. But I guess the guy that I would go with is probably Colin Castleton, 6'11", junior. You know, he's good underneath, can score. I don't know how they're going to match up with Virginia Tech. That's a hard matchup for me to pick. But Virginia Tech, I know they just landed Storm Murphy in the transfer portal for next season. Former Wofford guy, played for Mike Young. He'll be good for them next year. But for right now, how do you not go with Justin Mutz? I mean, 6'7", 230, very efficient offensively this year. Got to take him. Ohio State, I mean, it's got to be Dwayne Washington, one of the best shooters in the country. I mean, there's no doubt about it in my mind. For Oral Roberts, I mean, how do you not go with Max Amos or Obend, or 2 of the best players in the country? And the fact that they're both on a mid-major team is pretty amazing. Amos led the country in scoring. Obandor had a buzzer beater to carry them into the final for the Summit tournament. So it's got to be those 2 guys. Illinois, since we follow them so closely, I got to go off the board a little bit here, and I got to go with Andre Curbelo. I mean, he was a motor for them in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, you know, I think it was Rothstein said that Adam Miller was the guy that Illinois needed to get going. Obviously, they didn't need him that much yesterday. I don't know how people say that it's Miller. Like, I get that Miller could add something, but Curbelo is by far the guy. So, but
yeah, I don't know. I think Curbelo is overshadowing him.
Yeah, big time.
Loyola Chicago, it's got to be Cam Krutwig, even though I really like Braden Norris as a guard. But how about a little Kofi Coburn, Cam Krutwig round 2? Interesting. Georgia Tech, Moses Wright won the ACC Player of the Year, but I'm taking Jose Alvarado, who for my money is right there with Davion Mitchell for on-ball guard defenders. He's right there. He's the only guy that's even close, I think, for guards other than Jared Butler. But for Tennessee, I mean, I think a guy that could get them going and run their offense has got to be Santiago Vescovi. If he's healthy, I mean, you got to get him going. And he's kind of that guy. And then I'm going to take a shooter for Oregon State and a guy that shot the ball really well for them against Colorado, which is Jared Lucas. They also have a guy with my first name, Ethan Thompson, but I'll take Jared.
Oregon State's long. They are, I mean, they aren't the best athletically, but they're long. I mean, defensively, they were impressive to watch, I thought.
I mean, you look at their lineup; they don't have a huge lineup, but look at their rotation, like 6'5", 6'3", 6'5", 6'7", 6'8", 7'1", 6'10", and then another 6'5". So they have length, definitely. They will. I think a team that matches up well with them though is Tennessee, because Tennessee has some length too.
Right.
So that'll be a good matchup though for sure. For Oklahoma State, everyone's going to say Cade Cunningham, so I'm not. I mean, I'm going to say Avery Anderson, who has just been terrific for them down the stretch. I think a lot of people underrate how good that Oklahoma State roster is. I mean, I know Cade Cunningham makes them better. The thing that I'm worried about with them in this tournament, though, is how young they are. Like, their entire lineup, I don't think they have an upperclassman. I guess Bryce Williams is a senior, but he really doesn't play that many minutes, or he hasn't recently. But the rest are sophomores and freshmen and a couple of juniors. But that's what I would worry about. In terms of Liberty, I mean, I don't think you can't not go with Darius McGee, one of the better scorers there is right now. He's only 5'9", so anyone who's short can look up to him as a role model for this tournament. 5'9", just an excellent scorer. Another guy, though, is Elijah Cuffey, who's a terrific senior guard for them. So that'll be a good matchup, though. I mean, I really wanted to pick Liberty in the first round, but this is a really hard four to play. This is an Oklahoma State team that should be one of the better threes. They were underseeded.
Yeah.
And I just think that the committee forgot about them. I don't know. Or they overweighed the net in this case over other cases. It makes no sense. But for the who am I on now? San Diego State.
Yeah.
Matt Mitchell, the Mountain West Player of the Year, just a stud. He was there last year too. Got to take him. Syracuse. How can you not go with the coach's kid? I mean, how was Boeheim 55 and had a kid? But whatever. Buddy Boeheim carried them.
Buddy Boeheim, yeah.
He can shoot. West Virginia. I'm going to go with a duo. I'm not going to take Derek Culver, who I think is probably their best overall player. I'm going to take Miles McBuckets and Sean McNeil. Got to be those two guys. They can score. And this Huggins team doesn't even need to play defense. They do, but, not as much as the old ones.
Not as much as they had to in the past.
Yeah, Morehead State, I'm going with the big man, Johnny Broom, Janai Broom, or however the hell you pronounce that. He's a very good player. He was extremely good against Belmont. Their guard showed up in that game, too. Clemson is literally the most boring team I've ever seen, and I really hope they lose in the first round. I'm going to be rooting hard for Rutgers. So other than Illinois, I mean, I'm rooting hard for Rutgers to win that because I don't want to see this Clemson team pass the first round. But Amir Sims would be the guy that I would look at. He's going to be a hard matchup. I don't know who's going to guard him for Rutgers. Caleb McConnell maybe. I don't know, but that's going to be a really hard matchup for them. For Rutgers, it's got to be Jacob Young. I mean, Geo Baker and Ron Harper Jr. are supposed to be the best players in this team. If they ain't playing like it, I mean, they're not. And Jacob Young's their best defender, and he can score now too.
Is he averaging like 2.5 steals a game or something? 2 or 3?
Yeah, him and Frazier are very similar, except I think Frazier is a better shooter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Houston, it's got to be Quentin Grimes. I really like DeJon Jarreau too, but Quentin Grimes is an All-American in my opinion, so I'll take him. For Cleveland State, I'd go with Torrey Patton, 6'5" senior, played the most minutes for them this season, just a really solid player. But I don't really think Cleveland State has a chance in that matchup. Let's go to the final region, the Michigan Wolverines. It's got to be Wagner. Wagner's going to have to take on a different role with Livers out. It's going to be a lot harder for him. I think Wagner's better when he's a 3. Now he's going to be probably playing the 4 unless Johns plays, but him in spots is not great. LSU, I would take the youngster, Cam Thomas, one of the best scorers in the country. Give me him. And then St. Bonaventure is a very guard-oriented team. They have 4 guards that start and all average more than 10 points. But I'll take the big man, Oshun Oshinigi, who is an extremely good shot blocker. Had 7 blocks against St. Louis in the semi. Had 3 or 4 yesterday against VCU. So I'll take him as their player to watch. For Colorado, it's got to be McKinley Wright, one of the best players in the Pac-12 over the last decade, as good as it gets. Give me the youngster, the freshman, the Big East tournament player of the tournament. Dante Harris, who's just going to be a stud at Georgetown. For Florida State, give me Scotty Barnes, who's going to be a top pick in the NBA draft. I think he's an extremely good player. and he hit some big shots for them against Georgia Tech. They didn't win the game, but whatever. UNCG, it's got to be Isaiah Miller. I mean, his metrics are really good. He's sixth in the country in steal percentage. So that's one of them right there. There's a lot more to him as well. BYU, I am not going to take the BYU Defensive Player of the Year or the West Coast Conference Defensive Player of the Year, Matt Harms. Nope. I will take Alex Barcelo or Barcello, however you pronounce that, a very good shooter, a senior. He was on the BYU team that beat Gonzaga last year, and they almost beat him this time, except they didn't. So whatever, they lost by 10 still. But Michigan State, UCLA. For Michigan State, I'd say Aaron Henry's got to be a he-go-they-go guy, or Joshua Langford, one of those two. And for UCLA, I mean, I don't really see how you don't go with Tiger Campbell, but I will for the sake of this fun argument. And I'll take Johnny Juzang, who was a wing at Kentucky last year that shot the ball well. I'll take him. Texas, Jericho Sims. Don't care about Matt Coleman or Andrew Jones or the other guard that I'm forgetting about, Courtney Ramey. Don't care about those three. Don't care about Kai Jones. Jericho Sims has been playing out of his mind. He had an easy double-double against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. Jericho Sims is got to be the guy that gets them to the Final Four, like everyone says. Abilene Christian is a team that will give Texas some fits defensively, but I think Texas is so big, and so Texas is a top 5 team in the country in terms of talent, I think, and they have size, so they're going to be, a troublesome opponent. Will definitely be this team for Abilene Christian, who has a player named Reggie Miller, by the way, that starts. Colton Cole, though, is the guy that I would say 7 foot 240, so they got some size themselves, but we'll see what happens there. UConn, it's got to be James Bouknight. I mean, he's the reason that they are where they are, and if he continues to do that, then they'll win a lot of games. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're a great matchup against Alabama in the second round. Maryland, Aaron Wiggins has been an X-factor guy for them. He's gotten it going. They got to get him to continue to do what he's been doing, and they'll be fine. Alabama, I would look at probably Herb Jones, one of the best players in the SEC, just an elite player. Had a sick Euro step play yesterday to seal the win. Sick player. But, for Iona, who's won 6 straight going in, and they've won 10 of their last 12, by the way, give me Isaiah Ross, senior guard. He defends. Look at his coach. His coach is going to make him defend.
Give me Rick Pitino. Oh.
Rick Pitino is a player to watch for Iona. There's a player from each team.
I love it. Thanks for the info.
I hope everybody wrote that down.
I got it. I got it in my notes.
Good. That's good. DePaul just fired Dave Lateo, who had 5 straight years finishing last in the Big East, so dead. The 2 names that have been linked to DePaul for the last year are Porter Moser and Kenny Payne. Moser is obviously local and has been highly successful at Loyola, while Payne has ties through the new AD. Bobby Hurley and Dennis Gates have also been mentioned recently. Why the hell would Bobby Hurley leave Arizona State for DePaul?
I don't see Moser leaving either. He could have left, 3 years ago or whatever when they made their deep run, and I think he loves it there. So I don't see him going anywhere. I understand it's still in the same town, so maybe.
I just tweeted 0% chance Moser or Hurley leaves for DePaul. Also, this tweet says about Moser, Porter Moser can get a better job than DePaul, but Porter Moser is a different kind of guy who isn't chasing the biggest job he can get. Being in Chicago matters to him. Not saying he'll take DePaul, but I do think he'll strongly consider it.
Yeah, that's why he's at Loyola. So I can see if he did go somewhere else, I could see DePaul.
So should I be regretting the tweet I just made that says 0% chance?
Nope, 0% chance. I still agree with it.
But you got to think they're in the Big East. That's still a good job.
Yeah, but I mean, what's wrong with Loyola's job? He likes it enough. I don't want Porter Moser going to DePaul. Stealing Chicago kids from Illinois, but whatever. Let's go
with top 4 potential Cinderella. Just pick one Cinderella potential from each region that has a chance to get to the Sweet 16 or later.
Sweet 16. All right.
We'll start in the West.
Okay. what do you consider a Cinderella? What seed and higher? 8 or higher? Or
I would say
10?
10 and above.
Okay. I think the West, UCSB. I think that Santa Barbara, they got a chance to beat Creighton. And then they got Virginia probably matchup, or Ohio if Ohio does something crazy. I could see somebody out of those two, UCSB and Ohio, maybe making a little run.
I'm going to take Ohio, but I don't think I'm actually going to pick them. But I think they have a potential to be a Cinderella team because if Jason Preston, the trio of Jason Preston, Dwight Wilson, and Ben Vanderplas, if they are playing well and Preston is running the offense, I mean, I don't know how Virginia is going to be able to handle that. I've been a believer that Virginia is overrated, but I think Virginia can survive this matchup. But if Ohio gets by them, Ohio would not have that big of a – if Ohio and UCSB played, that would be a hell of a matchup. But Ohio-Creighton, I would like Ohio in that game. Then, of course, they run into Gonzaga and get murdered. But, Ohio is still a potential Sweet 16 team, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
In the South, there's really one universal pick for everybody, but let's see where you go.
Obviously, North Texas.
No, but
I'm gonna ride my North Texas train all the way to the finish line. So
I was preparing for you to take Winthrop so I could take Colgate, but I'm going to take Winthrop because Winthrop has some of the most unique and diverse scoring options in the lineup. And they have a guy in Chandler Vaudrin who runs the offense and can score 5 points, but he'll have 12 assists. I mean, that's just the type of team they are. So Winthrop matches up really well with Villanova. I think everybody's going to pick Winthrop in that game, which makes me a little hesitant to take it, but I would take that. So let's go to the Midwest.
Midwest. I mean, this is a weird one because all the Cinderella team, I mean, you look at them and they're all from power conferences. I mean, the 10s and higher. I guess if I had to pick one, I'd go with Syracuse. Syracuse is a Cinderella, so I don't know.
I would go with Liberty because if Liberty can get by Oklahoma State, I could see them being able to beat a Tennessee or an Oregon State because they can score. And if they're hot, Oklahoma State, I think Oklahoma State's going to have problems in this game. This is going to be, no matter who Oklahoma State plays in the second round, this game is going to be harder than the second round for them. So don't be that surprised if Liberty wins this game. I really think that they have a chance. Everyone's saying they don't because of Cade Cunningham, but Cade Cunningham is a freshman. I know he plays.
Cade Cunningham tries to take over games too, and I think that can hurt you. You see it with Illinois. I know we do Illinois, so I know them better. But when Iowa comes in and takes over games, the team, I feel, suffers a little bit. So I see that with Oklahoma State sometimes too.
Yeah, he did hit some major shots in the Big 12 championship. They almost won that game because of him. But
I'm not saying that he does it all the time. I'm just saying that when you have a player like that, it kind of sometimes it gets to points where the team's not playing as a team. The team is sitting around watching a guy play a whole team. I'm not saying he always does it. I'm just saying that teams go through spurts like that with guys that are that good.
And the good thing for Gonzaga and Baylor is that they don't really have that. Yeah. They have trios and all that stuff. In the East, who would you take?
I mean, can I take Michigan State as a Cinderella? I don't think you can. I don't really think you
can. I mean, you did take Syracuse, but
I know, and it's just hard. I mean, I don't have any upsets here. Let's go with Abilene Christian, your team. That's what I'm going with.
I would take UNC Greensboro.
Okay.
They're not going to win, but whatever. So let's recap. I have Ohio, Winthrop, Liberty, UNC Greensboro. So, by the way, that is 3 13s and a 12. And then you have UCSB, North Texas, Syracuse, Abilene Christian. So 14, 11, 13, 12. So 11, 12, 13, 14. So one of each. There you go.
Yes.
Neither of us had the stones to take Iona, huh?
No.
Interesting. Don't count them out. They're very good defensively. And if Alabama doesn't shoot well, Iona has a serious chance.
I want to mind seeing it.
All right. What do we have next? The rest of this is really boring. Is there a matchup with two offensive juggernauts in this one, in the tournament? I really don't think there is.
In the
The first round, yeah.
Round.
Oklahoma State Liberty.
LSU St. Bonnie. They offensively sound.
I mean, that's not too bad. LSU is very high in KenPom.
What about Winthrop Villanova? Did you say that just now?
Yeah, I said that. No, I said, what did I say? I said Oklahoma State Liberty.
Liberty, yeah.
But I think LSU St. Bonaventure is probably the pick because you have one team that's fifth in offensive efficiency and the other one's 38th.
Yeah.
So defensively, I mean, I don't know how you can't say Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech Loyola, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Georgia Tech's ranked 52nd defensive efficiency, but I think they're a lot better than that. And Loyola Chicago is first in defensive efficiency. So that's probably because they Loyola Chicago only gives up like 55 points per game. So anyway, let's do picks now. And I want to do them in order of the way the games are going to be played. So we're going to bounce around a little bit here.
Okay.
So first four matchups, who are you taking in each of the first four matchups? And we'll go from Texas Southern to Mount St. Mary's, Drake, Wichita State, App State, Norfolk State, UCLA, Michigan State. Who are you taking?
I'll take Texas Southern. I don't know anything about either of the teams. Short shorts.
Short shorts.
You've got to take him. He might win. He might make a deep run in those shorts.
I can see it.
I'll take Appalachian State. I hated on them earlier, but I'm going to take them now. Norfolk State, what did they just get to go to the championship game automatically, or
they won one game, then they advanced to the championship.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll take App State. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to give your picks while I'm doing this?
Give me the 11s, and I'll make mine after.
Okay, I'm going to take Michigan State because it is Izzo month, and then I'll take Drake. I think Wichita State's slipping, so I'll take Drake, especially if they get their stud back. So,
yeah, I would say I'll take Texas Southern, Norfolk State, Drake, and Michigan State. So almost the same. Now let's just go region by region for the rest because it's so complicated if you just go time of game.
Time of game, okay.
Yeah. We'll start out in the West region. Just give me your first round winners in the West.
Okay, I got Gonzaga, Oklahoma. I think that I think Missouri's not playing too well. Oklahoma also isn't playing well. That should be a pretty good matchup, but I think it's a pick 'em. So Oklahoma. I got UC Santa Barbara upsetting Creighton. I think everybody's going to pick that, so I'll go with everybody else. Virginia beating Ohio. USC over Drake. I think that'll be a really good game too. Kansas over Eastern Washington. Oregon, I can't go against you and your Oregon team, so I'm going to go with Oregon over VCU, and then Iowa.
Okay. I'm just filling out my Sweet 16 real quick so I can be ready for that. You know how it is.
Okay. Yeah. Way to take your time to fill that out.
Wait for it. Here we go. Okay. So, my West region first round winners. I'll take Gonzaga over either of the 16 seeds, probably by 40 points. I'm taking UCSB over Creighton. I'm taking Virginia over Ohio. I'm taking USC over Wichita State or Drake, but Drake, like I said. I'll take Kansas over Eastern Washington. I'll take the Ducks over the Rams, so Oregon over VCU, and I'll take Iowa over Grand Canyon. So do we have the same winners there?
You didn't pick the Oklahoma-Missouri game.
I'll take Missouri. I don't know how I skipped that.
Okay, so we're all the same except for that game.
You took Oklahoma?
I did.
Okay, now let's go down to the East region.
Okay.
And let's go winners there.
Got Michigan winning, obviously. I got LSU over the Bonnies, Colorado over Georgetown. I really like Colorado. I've been on them for a little while. Florida State against UNC Greensboro. I got Michigan State beating BYU. Texas beating Abilene Christian. Connecticut over Maryland, and Alabama over Iona.
Okay, I'm taking Michigan, obviously. I'll take LSU. I'll take Colorado over Georgetown. I'll take Florida State over UNC Greensboro. We're going to have the same picks again. I'll take Michigan State over BYU. I'll take Texas over Abilene Christian. I'll take UConn over Maryland. I'll take Alabama over Iona. So we have what?
One difference so far.
All right. Let's go to the South. This is where we could vary.
Here we go.
Probably not.
Baylor. I got Baylor and a nail biter over Hartford. I got North Carolina over Wisconsin. I think the other 5-12 everybody's going to pick. Winthrop over Villanova. I do have North Texas over Purdue because riding with North Texas all the way. Texas Tech over Utah State. Arkansas over Colgate. I got Virginia Tech over Florida. And I got Ohio State beating Oral Roberts.
Okay, I'll take Baylor over Hartford. I'll take North Carolina over Wisconsin. I'll take Winthrop over Villanova. I will take Purdue over North Texas. I'll take Texas Tech over Utah State. I'll take Arkansas over Colgate. I will take Florida over Virginia Tech, and I will take Ohio State over Oral Roberts. So I think we had a difference there, right? A couple of them.
You got Purdue winning, and you have Florida winning.
Okay. All right, Midwest.
I got Illinois beating Drexel by 47. Loyola Chicago over Georgia Tech. Tennessee over Oregon State. OK State over Liberty. I got Syracuse over San Diego State. West Virginia over Morehead State. Rutgers over Clemson, and Houston.
Okay. I just saw Penn State hired Micah Shrewsbury. Who the hell is that? That's their new head coach. I guess he was an assistant at Purdue. He was also an assistant at Butler, and he was also an assistant with the Boston Celtics. So Penn State is a new coach. Anyway, let's see. I'll take Illinois. Who'd you take in the 8-9?
Loyola.
Okay, I'm taking Georgia Tech. As much as I love Loyola Chicago,
wow.
I'm going to take Georgia Tech.
What?
I don't know.
Loyola podcast.
I believe in Josh Pastner. I do. And this light just turned on after being off for like an hour.
He's probably going to throw a Corona ball at somebody.
Yeah, he probably will. I'll take Tennessee over Oregon State, Oklahoma State over Liberty, Syracuse over San Diego State, West Virginia over Morehead State, Rutgers over Clemson, and Houston over Cleveland State. So I feel like my bracket this year more than ever has been boring AF.
Pretty chalk. Okay, cool.
Like my upsets, I have like 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. This isn't my final. Whenever I fill my bracket out in like 2 days, it's going to be a lot different.
This was the shoot off the hip bracket. Like
yeah, that's you have to have that, you know.
Every time you see it, you let her fly. So.
Yeah. All right, so let's go now to second round matchups and who you got in the West.
Okay, I got Gonzaga over Oklahoma. I got Virginia over Santa Barbara. I have Kansas over USC, and I have the Ducks beating Iowa.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Did that pick for you?
I am taking Gonzaga over Missouri by 35. I'll take UCSB over Virginia.
Ooh,
I'll take USC over Kansas, and I'll take Oregon over Iowa.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
You said USC over Kansas, though, right? So we only have 2 the same.
Yeah. What about the East?
The East, I got LSU upsetting the first number 1 seed, Michigan. I got Florida State over Colorado. I got Texas over Michigan State, and I got Alabama over UConn.
I have Michigan over LSU, Florida State over Colorado, Texas over Michigan State, and UConn over Alabama.
Ooh, now we're really going to start differentiating.
Yeah, all right. South.
I got Baylor over North Carolina. I got North Texas winning another one, beating Winthrop. Then I got Arkansas beating Texas Tech, and then I got Ohio State over Virginia Tech.
All right. I have Baylor over North Carolina, Purdue over Winthrop, Texas Tech over Arkansas, and Ohio State over Florida. So, boom, Midwest.
I got Illinois over Loyola Chicago. I got OK State beating Tennessee. I got West Virginia beating Syracuse, and I got Houston beating Rutgers. And really chalked that one up. So,
I got Illinois over Georgia Tech, Oklahoma State over Tennessee, West Virginia over Syracuse, and Houston over Rutgers. So
that's the thing. It's like that's the only thing about this bracket is like I feel like it's going to be a lot of the best teams are going to make it.
Yeah. 16. But I also think we're going to see some insane upsets that nobody's going to pick. Like I think there's a 2 or a 3 seed that's going to go down. That's my prediction. I don't have the stones to actually pick one of my bracket, but I think a 2 or a 3 is going to go down.
Yep.
Honestly, I could see Ohio State losing. I really could. As good as they are, I just think Oral Roberts, man.
I think that they could, and if they struggle, and they need Washington to literally do everything. The guy to watch on that team is Suing. Suing is a guy that can find tough matchups. It's hard to match up with him. He's long and super athletic. So I feel
like he had the ball too much yesterday.
He did. At the end, he was running the point at one point, I think.
And he was like the only one that was attacking the rim at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I think that's their game plan every time they play Illinois because Grandison is the only guy, and Grandison's a step slower than him. So
yeah. All right, Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. What? West Region, you ready?
Yep.
Got the Zags beating Virginia. Kansas over Oregon. And there you go. So I got Gonzaga and Kansas in my Elite Eight.
All right, I'm taking Gonzaga over UCSB, which I think if this matchup happens will be like a 15-point game. I think UCSB can hold their own a little bit. Then I'll take Oregon over USC. So Oregon and Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. Let's go now to the East.
I got Florida State over LSU. I got Alabama over Texas. So I got Florida State, Alabama matchup.
I feel like we didn't talk about how you had LSU beating Michigan.
Why do
you think LSU will beat Michigan?
I don't think Michigan's as good as everybody wants them to.
But the problem for Michigan or the problem for LSU is that they don't have any defense.
Yeah.
Like who on that team is going to stop Dickinson from having 25 and 10?
Dickinson will stop himself.
That's an issue if you're LSU. By the way, I just saw that Al Durham entered the transfer portal. So already a player from Indiana gone. And he was a big-time shooter and almost carried them to that win over Illinois in December. Anyway.
Did you see the guy from Massachusetts enter the transfer portal and, like, all the Illinois guys are, like –
Trey Mitchell?
Yeah.
He's a stud. I think he's going to end up in the Big Ten.
Illinois?
He's going to end up in the Big Ten, I think. I don't know if it'll be Illinois. I doubt it'll be Illinois because they're probably going to be Enoch. But anyway, let's see where we're at. The East, I will take Michigan over Florida State. And sticking with one of my squads, UConn takes down the Longhorns. On to the Elite Eight, go the Huskies. UConn, Michigan. Now we go to the South.
Baylor, obviously, is going to beat North Texas by 47. And then I got Arkansas over Ohio State.
I am taking the Baylor Bears to beat Purdue in a thrilling overtime game in the Sweet 16. Okay. And then I will take Texas Tech, the 6th seed, to advance the Elite Eight to beat Ohio State because I trust Chris Beard.
Guy, huh?
I trust Chris Beard, man. He got them into the Final Four last time they were in the tournament. And this roster is not as good as that one probably, but it's really good. So there you go. What about the Midwest?
Illinois over Oklahoma State, and West Virginia over Houston for a Illinois-West Virginia matchup.
So I'm going to take Illinois over Oklahoma State in a game where Io DeSumo and Cade Cunningham both have triple doubles. And then I'll take West Virginia over Houston. So we have the same Elite Eight there in that region. So what's your Elite Eight before we pick?
My Elite Eight is Gonzaga, Kansas, Florida State, Alabama, Baylor, Arkansas, and Illinois, West Virginia.
So that's a 1 and a 3, a 4 and a 2, a 1 and a 3, and then a 1 and a 3, right? So 3 1s and 3s, and then a 4 and a 2.
Pretty consistent, I know.
Okay, so mine is Gonzaga, Oregon, which is a 1 and a 7, Michigan and UConn, which is a 1 and a 7. Baylor, Texas Tech, 1 and a 6, and then Illinois, West Virginia, 1 and a 3. So 1 7, 1 7, 1 6, 1 3. I have the 1 seed.
They all think the 1 seeds are going to make, except for me, of course. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You think that all the 1 seeds are going to make the Elite Eight?
Yeah, I do.
I like it.
Michigan and Illinois, though, they're going to have a lot of trouble getting there.
I agree.
It's hard. I think Illinois, Oklahoma State, Illinois, Georgia Tech, those would be big-time games. But here we go. West region, Gonzaga, Kansas. Who's winning that game for you? Remember, folks, shoot off the hip bracket. You don't take too much stock into these. The bracket came out 20 hours ago. We got to have more time to figure all this out.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna take Gonzaga over Kansas, putting the Zags in the Final Four.
I think with the way that the West region is, I think Gonzaga could play 4 guys and get to the Final Four. I really do.
True.
It's just not a good region. I'm going to take Gonzaga to beat Oregon. I'll say 85-80.
Ooh.
I think Eugene from Eugene has 20 and 10.
The closest game Gonzaga would have all year, right?
Yeah, but I think they're going to have a close one before that with, like, Missouri. I think Missouri could give them some issues.
I thought you just said they were going to beat everybody by 15. But okay.
I did say that, so I'm going to stick with that. Never mind. East region.
East region. I got Alabama over Florida State. Putting the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Final Four. They are now a basketball school.
I am doing something where I am sticking with Dan Hurley. UConn beats Michigan. UConn's going to the Final Four, folks. They're back. Oh, man, 7 seed in the Final Four. Woo! So that means I have Gonzaga and UConn in the Final Four. What's your South region matchup?
My South, I got Arkansas beating the Baylor Bears to put Arkansas and Alabama both in the Final Four. Who would have thought it? Who would have saw it coming?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. But anyway, I'm going to take –
Why you hating on my bracket?
It is shoot off the hip, so it's kind of for fun, but also, kind of thinking of some ideas, bouncing them off. I'm going to take some Big 12 on Big 12 crime where Texas Tech beats Baylor.
Ooh.
And so I'm going to have a 6 and a 7 from the South and the East. And then for the Midwest, I'm taking Illinois over West Virginia. So that's a quick one. What do you got there? Illinois over West Virginia? Okay.
Illinois over West Virginia.
So my Final Four is UConn, Gonzaga, Texas Tech, Illinois. This isn't going to be my real Final Four, but that's what it is. So who you got winning the Final Four games? I
got Gonzaga over Bama, and I got Arkansas losing to the Illini. We got a Zags Illini matchup in the championship.
I'm taking Gonzaga over UConn by 1 point. It tips one in at the buzzer, and the Dan Hurley's ride ends, unfortunately. I'm going to be so disappointed if UConn loses in the first round. Man. And then I'll take Illinois over Texas Tech by 15. So there you go. So I also have Gonzaga, Illinois. So all of that, and we end up with the same final. What do you got for the championship?
I mean, shoot off the hip. I can't not take the boys from Illinois. So I got Illinois winning it all. Io DeSumo gets on his horse, rides in the sunset, 2 trophies in hand, came back, did what he said he was going to do. Storybook ending.
Yeah, that would be good. I also wrote Illinois down as the winner, so and definitely unbiased if you can see the sign behind me.
Yeah, right. I don't know how you don't. I mean,
I don't know.
if we're just doing this today, I wrote it down in 5 minutes before we started this, so I'm obviously going to be biased to Illinois right now. Yeah, now, when it's for money and it might matter, things might change. But
definitely. So let me think here. What else did I write down? I don't even have the doc in front of me anymore, so there's that.
You did round of 64 and then full bracket, so we did them.
All right. Let me try to think of something real quick just to give people a little more.
Probably shouldn't have moved anything because my internet's going to go out and you're going to be by yourself to finish this.
That is a good point.
Yep, there he goes.
Who is the best team in the country?
Right now?
Yeah. Who's
playing the best or who's the best? I think Illinois is up there with how they're playing. But I think that Gonzaga has the best lineup in the country.
So who's going into the tournament limping?
Oklahoma.
Yeah, Missouri too.
Missouri. That's it. That's literally a game of losers. My computer froze, so I don't know if you can even hear me anymore.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Clemson is. They lost to Miami in the ACC tournament.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Clemson got in, but if you're going to put Syracuse in, you got to put Clemson in, right?
I mean, I don't know how Clemson's a 7. They should be like a 9.
Yeah.
How is Clemson higher seeded than Loyola Chicago or Georgia Tech? That would be my big question.
That is unreal.
Another team that's limping in, I would say, is
Tennessee. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, they should have beaten Alabama. I mean, they blew that Alabama game in the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
Villanova's limping in heavily.
Yeah.
Virginia would have been limping in if they didn't if they called that 6-second thing.
True.
So
very true.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that as I look at the bracket, I mean, is Rutgers limping in? I mean, they got murdered by Illinois.
True.
It really didn't play that well down the stretch.
Rutgers has been struggling.
Maryland is too. Maryland lost to Northwestern and Penn State, and then Michigan State, and then Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, they just beat Michigan State in between that, but something to look at. Then I think the teams that are really flying in, Illinois obviously is flying in. I would say Georgia Tech is flying in. I would say Texas is flying in.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Bonaventure. Winthrop, yes, even though they've been off for over a week, so you might have some concerns there.
True.
UCSB and Ohio are both rolling in. Gonzaga is default. Houston is as well. Syracuse, if they would have called the 6 seconds, Syracuse might win that game. So,
true.
Alabama is definitely flying in. So let me do this one just for fun. And you can't pick any of the 1 seed teams or the 2 seed teams.
Okay.
One coach that you trust the most per region. We'll start in the West. And I'll go first since I already have all my picks. I'm not taking Bill Self. Okay. I'm not taking Tony Bennett. Wow. I'm not taking Lon Kruger or Fran McGat. Well, we can't pick it too, so never mind. Don't even count Fran. He's a moron. But I am taking the guy that aligns Rubik's Cubes. I mean, how can you not say Dana Altman? All-time great coach. I'll take Dana Altman. I trust him with my life in the West.
I'll take Tony Bennett.
It's a good pick. I knew you were going to take Bill Self, so I didn't know where you were going to go.
Absolutely not.
For the South, how can I not pick the guy that I just had in the Final Four? Texas Tech, Chris Beard. Even though I really like Eric Musselman, so I trust him too. But maybe Roy Williams, But I will take Chris Beard, 6-seeded Texas Tech. You taking Roy Williams?
Yeah, give me Roy.
I mean, they're going to lose in the second round anyway, so it's not his fault. In the Midwest region, I'm going to take the guy that pounds nails, Steve Michael. I trust him.
I would go with Steve Michael with you on that. Boeheim also.
Or Porter Moser.
Yeah. but you got to pound them nails, whatever that means.
Exactly. East region, I mean, come on. Dan Hurley, come on.
Dan Hurley.
Coach for UConn. Take him all day. Even though Leonard Hamilton's a good pick.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's who you're going to take.
That's who I would. Or Izzo.
Okay, now let's do this for fun, real quick. Last segment right here.
Okay.
Seeds 8 through 16, under the radar coach that you trust. Because it's already under the radar, so just 8 through 16. But you can't pick like a big-time coach. Like you can't take Roy Williams.
I couldn't name half these coaches. Grand Canyon, I would take Bryce Drew, I guess.
Okay. For that one, I would definitely go with, I guess, Bryce Drew. I mean, you got to, right?
Yeah.
He's done an excellent job there. They thought when they got Dan Motterly there at Grand Canyon back in the day, they were like, we're going to win the freaking WAC every year. No doubt about it. They didn't even ever do it. And then Bryce Drew has one season and he gets them in.
And he did it, yeah.
South region.
Who?
Pat Kelsey, Winthrop. How can you not take it?
Yeah,
Got to be the guy. In the Midwest, 8 through 16. I mean, I like Boeheim, but I'm not going to pick him.
It's literally the guys that we named already.
So I will take Josh Pastner.
I know you love him.
In the COVID Bowl.
As weird as he is.
I will take him. He's probably the nicest guy on the bracket.
Yeah.
Did you see him in that post-game interview?
I did. I couldn't hear it.
Oh my God.
Because we were on the plane. I couldn't hear it because we were just landing. But
nerd.
It was nice. I gotta say, Southwest lets you watch live TV, so I got to watch some basketball.
I'll break down the Josh Pastner post-game interview. First thing I want to say, Leonard Hamilton's a Hall of Fame coach, no doubt about it. I want to thank you guys, the announcers, for being here. I want to thank my players. We have such great players. They do such a good job every day. And Leonard Hamilton's a Hall of Fame coach. Thank you to the announcers, and thank you to the ACC for putting this on. I want to thank you guys for being here. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome. It was. I've never seen a coach thank the announcers.
I heard he was thanking everybody.
Quite something. I mean, hell of a guy. And they ran him out of town in Memphis, and they ended up with a guy who's not even half the coach that Pastner is.
True.
So maybe better recruiter, but is it really honest recruiting?
Your name.
East region coach. I mean,
Patrick Ewing, right?
I'm going to go with Mark Schmidt, St. Bonaventure.
Okay.
Third tournament appearance for him, so
yeah.
The problem for St. Bonaventure is that they literally have a 5-man rotation. There's like 2 guys off the bench that actually play, but for the most part, 88% of St. Bonaventure scoring is from their starting 5. So they're not going to go very far. Anyway, that'll do it for us. I guess we'll be doing another one of these next Tuesday to wrap up the first 2 rounds.
Sounds good.
On the 23rd of March. So we'll break down the first 2 rounds. We'll talk about the Sweet 16 matchups. We'll make even more picks with the matchups we already have. So that'll be good. And we'll see you next Tuesday. And repicking and all that stuff. Maybe are we going to make an ESPN bracket challenge? I mean,
yeah, if you can set that up,
all right. I'll
tweet it out
for that. Yeah,
and do all that stuff. So we'll see if any of the fans want. I'm just here by myself now. See if any of the fans want to do it. Have a good one, guys.